Mandu, which is known as the City of Joy, Anandnagari, resides in the Dhar district of Madhya Pradesh. It perched on Vindhya range at an elevation of 600 meters, overlooking the plateau of Malwa to the north and the valley of Narmada. These quiet ruins seem like a story from the Arabian Nights. The city of Mandu is adorned with spellbinding Afghan Turco architecture. The grand palaces are still alive with royal romance, while the darwazas speak of a history of imperial conquests. The present road to Mandu leads up a not very steep hillside and through four gates: Alamgir Darwaza, Bhangi Darwaza, Kamani Darwaza, and Gadi Darwaza. Bhangi Gate is now a broken down ruin. Only the side walls remain, the superstructure having disappeared. Kamani Gate is a simple structure with two high arches side by side. Delhi Darwaza is a pretty structure with two successive archways. There is only one main road in Mandu, which runs straight from the gates through the village. Royal Enclave Monuments. The fortified Royal Enclave, spread over a large area, it covers a diversified assortment of ruins from stable to pleasure palaces. One of the most prominent monument, not only of Royal Enclave group of monuments, but also the icon of Mandu, is Jahaz Mahal. Stands on a narrow stretch of enlaced between the two water bodies of Kapur and Munj Talao.
120 मीटर लंबा ये बिल्डिंग है, जिसका नाम अभी फ़िलहाल में 1469 में गयासुद्दीन खिलजी के द्वारा जहाज महल के रूप में दिया गया। जहाज महल इसको इसलिए कहा जाता है कि 1469 में जब गयासुद्दीन खिलजी अपने हरम की बेगमों से मिलते हुए वाटर पैलेस पर जाकर बैठ जाया करता था। एवरी मून नाइट, ब्राइट नाइट के दौर में मून कलर जब बिल्डिंग के ऊपर फोकस करता था तो एवरी नाइट फोकस लाइट जो है लेक के अंदर, तालाब के अंदर, पानी के अंदर इसका फुल शेडो दिखाई देने पर वो हिलता हुआ प्रतीत दिखाई देता था। तो पानी हिलता था, शेडो भी हिलने पर ऐसा प्रतीत हुआ जैसे कोई शिप लंगर डाले हुए समुद्र तालाब के अंदर खड़ा है, हिलते हुए दिखाई दे रहा है। इसलिए बिल्डिंग का नाम रखा गया शिप पहले जहाज महल। ये गयासुद्दीन खिलजी के द्वारा 1469 to 15th सेंचुरी के बीच में बिल्डिंग का नाम दिया गया।
Jahaz Mahal have entrance from east, where the main entrance has a recessed arc and is flanked on each side by 6 arched openings. The ground floor in Jahaz Mahal has 3 large halls. All these halls are connected by corridors, which ends with the rooms at the either ends. Each of these 3 halls have attached pavilions at the rear, overlooking Munj Talao. The building has a continuously arcaded front shaded by a broad eave. The roof has a series of open pavilions, kiosks, and overhanging balconies. The interior consists of pillared compartments, cool corridors, and sumptuous bathing halls. All the passages' windows were designed with arches in different designs. Similarly, various creative design patterns can be observed in look of water tanks, flooring, and small openings of wall. At some places, we can see narrow, by artistically designed water channels through water was passed. The Munj and Kapur tanks were interconnected through an arched underground channel which exists even today. As the rainfall was not equally distributed and the terrain was undulating, these two channels ensured equal distribution of water between the two tanks. To meet the drinking water requirements, there are 2 wells called Ujala and Andheri Baulis. Hindola Mahal is located north of the Jahaz Mahal. The T-shaped building with its sloping buttressed wall was constructed during the later part of the reign of Ghiyasuddin Khilji. Hindola Mahal literally means a swinging palace, a name given to its peculiarly sloping side walls. The massive vaulted roof of the hall has disappeared, though the row of lofty arches, which once supported the huge ceiling above. The T-shaped projection was added later, probably to provide a well-guarded approach for the king. The pointed arches on the building's interior shows that Malwa architecture was influenced by the Delhi styles. The transverse projection of the Hindola Mahal is a double-story building. In this two-story building, the upper story was reserved for the use of the royal ladies. From outside, it seems to be a simple structure, but on careful examination, we will realize it's neatly chiseled masonry with fine joints, with set of carved moldings which enhances the beauty. Mandu's Royal Palace Complex. Although in ruins, the complex still provides the grandeur of the golden days of Mandu. At the entrance of the royal palace lies the stepwell of Champa Bauli. A subterranean passage goes down to the base of the wall and further connects itself with labyrinth of valuated rooms known as Takhana. At a short distance from the well is the hammam, in the ceiling of which beautiful stars were cut for light. The existing remains of the structure show only a pair of halls with vaulted ceilings. Jal Mahal. During the height of monsoon, when the Munj Talav is full to its brim, a narrow passage connects the royal palace to the Jal Mahal. The passage contains 3 pairs of stairs leading to the water on both sides. The Jal Mahal is a complex of roofless royal residential quarters. The Jal Mahal consists of 5 water tanks below the ground level and one beautiful fountain, which highlights the entrance to the palace. The entire palace has been built of stone. An entire structure is load-bearing. The village group of monuments is located at the core of the citadel of Mandu. The village group consists of Jami Masjid, Hoshang Shah's tomb, Asharfi Mahal, and Mahmud Khilji's tomb. Jami Masjid. The mosque remains quiet and tranquil. Jami Masjid was modelled as the Great Mosque of Damascus. The construction of Jami Masjid was started by Hoshang Shah and completed by Mahmud Khilji in 1454 AD. The mosque stands on an elevated plinth of height 5 meters and covers a square area of sides measuring 97 meters. The Jami Masjid is approached by a flight of about 30 steps. The doorway consists of decorated marble jamb along with a decorative archway. The interior consists of a beautiful courtyard with manicured lawns with a central pathway. Straight on the western side is the main prayer hall, crowned with 58 small domes, which are dominated by 3 gigantic domes. The prayer hall feels like an enchanting forest of pillars under the shadows of arches and domes. It presents a stark but lyrical symmetry. The western wall contains 17 arched niches of mihrab embellished with blue tiles. The central mihrab is larger and more decorative than the rest. Located next to the central mihrab is a white marble pulpit, approached by a flight of stairs. Pulpit served as a seat of the imam, who lead the prayers. On the northern and southern side of the courtyard are arched passageways similar to those of the main prayer hall. These passageways, numbering 3 on each sides, does have a similar enchanting effect of the main prayer hall. Situated on the western side of Jami Masjid is the white marble tomb of Hoshang Shah, which is in stark contrast with the brown sandstone structure of the Jami Masjid. Hoshang Shah's tomb, the first marble built structure of the country, was a source of inspiration for the most well-known monument, the Taj Mahal. The tomb of Hoshang Shah is converged through an arched gateway on the north. The entrance leads to a grass-laid courtyard, at the center of which stands the marble mausoleum of Hoshang Shah. On the western end of the Hoshang Shah tomb complex is a long elongated hall supported by a series of decorated pillars. The flat roof Dharmshala is supported by a series of intricately decorated pillars forming a series of 3 parallel passageways. The Hoshang Shah's grave is flanked on the left by a single grave, and there are 2 graves on the right. Sadly, there are no records of who lay buried under these graves. The single dome towering above the grave gives the mausoleum a gigantic dimension. The star attraction of Hoshang Shah's tomb are the intricate jali works. On the other side of the road, facing the Jami Masjid, is the Asharfi Mahal. The structure is composed of 3 distinct buildings built at different times. The first structure on the site was a madrasa in the form of a series of rooms surrounding a courtyard. The rooms, with a corridor of double arches, which have pyramidal vaulted ceilings of interesting design, can still be seen on the ground floor of the subsequent structure. Only a few portions of the mausoleum itself still remain, though it can be ascertained that it was a square hall of 65 feet side covered by an immense dome. Each wall was faced with white marble. The last structure, comprising the Asharfi Mahal, was a tower of victory raised by Mahmud Khilji, its wall composed of roughly prepared rubble. The tomb, with its gigantic dome, has long collapsed, and only small fragments of its walls stand to this day. The entrance gateway, approached by a long flight of stairs to the tomb, still stands. The dome of the gateway have long collapsed, but the arches are still intact and offers a grand view of the Jami Masjid. South of the central group of monuments, in citadel of Mandu, is Darya Khan Tomb Complex, a walled complex housing the tomb of Darya Khan, along with another tomb, a mosque, a sarai, inn, and a small pond. The tomb of Darya Khan, a high official in the courts of Mahmud Khilji II, was built in early 16th century. It is further enclosed by a wall which probably dates back to the time of the tomb. Although built of red sandstone, Darya Khan's tomb has remarkable resemblance with the marble mausoleum of Hoshang Shah's tomb. The 4 sides contain relief arches with the doorways on the eastern and southern side. The other 2 sides contain sandstone screen, jali, but it lacks the intricacy of those of the Hoshang Shah's tomb. The interior contains 3 graves. The large central one belongs to Darya Khan. The occupants of the other graves are not known. The mosque faces east and is approached by a series of arched gateways. The flat roof is topped with a huge dome in the center, and the northern and southern ends of the terrace are each flanked with 3 smaller domes. Adjoining to the southern wall of Darya Khan's tomb is a small brick-lined pond called Somvati Kund. A few steps to the southwest is a Lal Sarai, For centuries, Mandu has been an important trading center, welcoming traders from all over the world. Thus, the inns have been an integral part of Mandu. The Malik Mughit's Mosque is located on a high plinth, and the entrance is through a long flight of stairs from the eastern side. On the either side of the stairs, along the plinth are 12 arched rooms, 6 on each side. A Persian inscription on top of the entrance of the Malik Mughit's Mosque claims that the mosque was built in 1432 AD. Facing the Malik Mughit's Mosque is the Caravan Sarai. Mandu has several such sarai, but the Caravan Sarai is the largest and most spectacular of all the sarais of Mandu. It consists of a simple architecture with a large open courtyard along with the rooms on all 4 sides. Move out of the Caravan Sarai and take a left turn towards north. On the right is a ruined structure next to the Malik Mughit's Mosque. This structure probably served as the residence of the Imam of the mosque. Further north is a small pond, and beyond it is a massive tomb crowned with a gigantic dome. A little bit ahead on the left is a domed structure known as the Dai Ki Choti Behin Ka Mahal. The structure consists of a domed mausoleum along with a mosque, but nothing is known about the occupant of the mausoleum. Just south of the Dai Ki Choti Behin Ka Mahal is Lal Bagh, a Mughal garden complete with fountains, water channels and walkways. Further south is a similar mausoleum known as the Dai Ka Mahal. It does have structural similarities with Dai Ki Choti Behin Ka Mahal, and again, nothing is known about its occupant. The octagonal structure stands on a high plinth and is topped with a huge dome. To the west of Sagar Talao lies the Nilkant Temple, which is the shrine of Lord Shiva. The enclosure of the shrine has countless trees and a sacred pond. There are some philosophic inscriptions on its walls which preach the superiority of emancipation over earthliness. The present structure of Nilkant Palace was built on the site of a shrine of Lord Shiva. In the center of the palace is a fine container to which water was supplied by a channel built along the column of the apartment on the southern side. Overall, the structure of Nilkant Palace is elegant and giving an added grandeur to the scenery. For the west, towards Mandu village, lies the oldest monument of Mandu, the Lohani Caves. These caves were carved out without much of carvings and without an inscription. In front of the caves is a rock-cut storage tank. The most enchanting and romantic sight of the Mandu is the Reva Kund. On the northwestern end of the Reva Kund are several large rooms with pointed arch entrances. These rooms served as outhouses for the royals. On the other side of the lake stands a gigantic palace of Baz Bahadur, approachable via a wide flight of shallow stairs. After the flight of stairs, entrance to the Baz Bahadur's palace is through a arched entranceway.
अभी अब जिस बिल्डिंग पर हम खड़े हुए हैं इसे बाज बहादुर का पैलेस के नाम से जाना जाता है, संगीत कंपटीशन हॉल। ये बिल्डिंग जो आर्किटेक्चर में अगर देखा जाए तो अफगान आर्किटेक्चर के में इस बिल्डिंग का निर्माण किया गया था। प्रत्येक आर्चेस में अफगान आर्किटेक्चर दिया गया है और रेनिंग वाटर के लिए वाटर चैनल्स इसमें जो दी गई है, जो ऑलरेडी रूफ वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग और प्लस लिफ्टिंग सिस्टम के माध्यम से पानी चैनलों के ज़रिए स्विंग पूल तक पहुंचाया जाता था, जो अंदर की साइड में बना हुआ है। कंपटीशन हॉल के लिए इस बिल्डिंग का निर्माण किया गया था।
The courtyard contains a shallow swimming pool in its center, ideal for swimming. The southern side of Baz Bahadur's palace contains another courtyard, much smaller in size and without the swimming pool. The star attraction of Baz Bahadur's palace is the two pavilions on the terrace. The pavilion, supported by 12 circular pillars, have equal triple arches on each side and is crowned with a hemispherical dome. Located on a hilltop overlooking the Baz Bahadur's palace is the Roopmati's pavilion. The pavilion lies towards the southern part of Baz Bahadur's palace. Initially, it was built on a low platform as a large hall with 2 rooms on each side and a broad sloping base. Later, the construction was extended from the western edge along the pedestal. The western projection contains a large cistern in which rainwater was collected during the monsoon through the channel running from the roof to the reservoir below. The corridors in the basement have a number of arched openings across their width to support the ceiling.
इसमें कुछ पत्थरों का इस्तेमाल हुआ है, जिसमें मांडू में तो ऐसे 4 तरह के पत्थर यूज़ किए गए हैं। सैंडस्टोन है, बेसाल्ट है, वाइट मार्बल है और ब्लैक नॉर्मल स्टोन जो लोकल मांडू के तालाबों से खुदाई में निकाला गया है। इनके जो पत्थर हैं, जो जितने भी तरीके से पत्थर इसमें यूज़ किए गए हैं, उस पत्थरों को ज्वाइन करने के लिए जो मटेरियल यूज़ किया जाता था, उसमें बड़ी रेत, चूना, कोयला, बड़ी रेत, बालू रेत, पत्थरों का चूना, बालू रेत। उसके बाद डायरेक्टली इसमें मूंग की दाल, उड़द की दाल, गोंदल गुड़ का इस्तेमाल करने के बाद इनका लेपिंग किया जाता था। लेप करने के बाद पत्थरों को ज्वाइन करके उन चीज़ों को रिपेयर करके मेंटेन कर दिया जाता था।
The Roopmati's pavilion contains massive arched passages. But like the Baz Bahadur's palace, the star attraction of Roopmati's pavilion are the 2 pavilions on its terrace. It was probably from here Roopmati watched the Narmada flow. The journey through the monuments of Mandu, though many of them in ruined state, still touches the soul, and breathtaking beauty of the nature adds to that charm. Even Emperor Jahangir was mesmerized by the beauty of Mandu and quoted, "I know no place so pleasant in climate and so pretty in scenery as Mandu during the rains." The glory of architectural gem lives on in legends and song recorded for the generations to come.